Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi.
Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi. Today's show is all about the future of Rhode Island and the future of some local organizations. On the second half of the show, we're going to be joined by two of the winners of the Rhode Island Business Plan competition, including a young man from Brown who's making 3D ties, or making ties on a 3D printer, which is kind of interesting, not something we see every day. But first, I'm joined by David Marble. He's the president and CEO of OSHEAN Incorporated, a consortium created by some of the biggest nonprofits in Rhode Island to work on cyber infrastructure. David, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
So, David, let's help people a little more understand what we're talking about here. You took over in November as president and CEO of OSHEAN. What is OSHEAN? Who are the members? It was founded back in 1999. What is this group? It has nothing to do with the Atlantic Ocean. What's the purpose?
Not at all. OSHEAN, OSH, it's Ocean State Higher Education and Administrative Network. It was formed back in 1999 by a gentleman named George Loftus, who worked with the major universities in the state, understanding that they needed a new infrastructure to talk to each other and talk with them themselves in their multiple buildings as they were expanding around the state and so forth. And so they decided to put a network together as a consortium, which now has expanded to include the large nonprofit hospitals in the state, Lifespan and so forth, Care New England, includes the state agencies and municipalities around the state. And they're all together now in a large network, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
Well, the first question I'd have is, why do they need their own, right? Why can't, I have Fios at my house. Some people might have might have Comcast.
Right.
Why do these organizations decide they need their own fiber optic internet networked infrastructure?
Right. Well, it turns out that, especially at the universities with researchers and so forth, they found that to get the kind of high bandwidth that they were really needing to do research and so forth, that they really needed sort of a private infrastructure. And so private networks aren't new, but at the bandwidth levels and the broadband levels that they were looking for, they realized that collaborating together to buy this and build this network made sense. And that's not unique just to Rhode Island. That actually has happened all over the country. So we're actually classified as a research and education network, of which there are many members around the country that do the same thing for their states. And
OSHEAN actually extends a little bit into Massachusetts as well, right?
We do. We go up the Bristol County run and connect with universities like Stonehill and Wheaton and UMass Dartmouth up in that area.
Wheaton, my own alma mater, actually.
Right.
So, let's talk about, you're here today to talk about Beacon 2.0. It sounds like it might be a superhero enterprise that we'd see a movie about, but it's a big project, $32 million. Tell us, what is Beacon 2.0?
Well, Beacon 2.0 is we should discuss the term broadband, but it is a broadband fiber optic network in the state of Rhode Island, southern Massachusetts, where we received some grant funding from the government under what's called the BTOP, the Broadband Technology Opportunities Program, a stimulus project, by the way.
Funded out of the Obama stimulus.
Out of the stimulus funds. And that is laying a brand new infrastructure, and we'll start to talk about gigabits and multi-gigabits, but a 400 gigabit state-of-the-art fiber optic network over our topology in the state. And it connects all of the people we just talked to, all of the what we call community anchor institutions. And those are collections of nonprofits and meds and eds that are defined by the federal government as to fit in this category that would take this kind of subsidized program.
And maybe to make it more concrete for people, we have a map we can show of sort of the run Beacon 2.0 is going to take. There it is. It's in blue. So sort of walk us through, what are we looking at there? Where is this pipeline going? So
the pipeline goes all the way down in the lower corner of the state, down into westerly, comes up through the URI 138 corridors, goes up the island and Newport and so forth. And you'll see through the central part of the state and into the northern part of the state, you'll see these cross runs that go on different roads. It's on Route 2, it's on Route 3, goes on Post Road. And those runs add to what's resiliency. So if one line goes down, it can reroute automatically the other way, and it becomes a very resilient and high-speed infrastructure for these applications.
So what's actually being built under that, where that blue line is? What are people, are they digging up like Verizon does and putting pipes in the ground?
We try to avoid digging, because that's that you have DEM things that you want to avoid and things like that. And a lot of it just runs along the poles that you'll see. But at times it will go under the concrete if you need to get across the road and that kind of thing. So it's a combination of both of those.
385 miles of
and growing
of dedicated fiber optic, high speed, high capacity broadband. Is there any way you can put this into terms people might understand about how fast we're talking about this internet is?
Well, I've been in the business for 30 years, so it was back when we were dialing up on a modem and you'd hear the tone. Well, that was running over copper lines, standard copper lines, and we tried to use the old phone lines to do that. But to get to the kind of speeds that we're talking about, we have to use fiber optics. And fiber optics, it was discovered long ago that they could make this little microscopic thing, string of glass, that would transmit the digital information, the ones and zeros that make up a data set or a file. Those are ones and zeros, and they can, over glass, there's very little resistance. And so they found that they could, and over time, it usually goes in tens. They multiply by 10. They go the next year, and it's 10 times what it could do the year before. And so it keeps on increasing how fast you can do these kinds of things. And it's revolutionized the information infrastructure in this country. It's amazing.
We're going to talk more after a break about who's using it here and how they're using it. Stick with us on Executive Suite. We'll talk more about that. And after that, 2 of the winners of the Rhode Island Business Plan Competition will be here. Talk about 3D printing and some new ideas in jewelry. Stick with us. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and I'm joined by David Marble, President and CEO of Rhode Island's OSHEAN Consortium, which has nothing to do with the Atlantic. It's a consortium of nonprofits across Rhode Island, as well as in nonprofits and governmental institutions as well. And right now you're building Beacon 2.0, 385 miles of dedicated fiber optic, high-speed internet. You told me during the break it'll be done in August, and about 80 of 150 nonprofits are already using it right now.
That's correct. Yeah, we'll have the final builds. The backbone is pretty much complete, and what you have to do off the backbone is just build the little spurs that go to each institution, and those are being rolled out on a weekly basis right now.
And so to give people an example of what's being done, we have some video of the oceanographer, Bob Ballard. Everyone knows him down at URI. He goes out, he does his discoveries and goes out and looking. Tell me, how is that an example of how this is being used?
Well, the research vessels, when they go out, they generate an enormous amount of data, not just their own data of what's going on down there, but video files of live pictures of what they're doing and so forth. And so that all gets transmitted up to a satellite, and then it hits our fiber optic network, and we can distribute it to any researcher that needs it. It might go straight to the Bay campus, or it may go, in some instances, we've done videos to classrooms in the K-12 community. Because last summer we actually merged with what used to be called RINET, and that's the whole K-12 community in the state and the libraries in the state. And so now we have it's all one organization now, yes. And so now you could take, and this has been done on our network, you can take a video, a real-time video of what's going on the ship, and you can beam it to the classroom.
So this video we're seeing here from Ballard Ship could be beamed live into a classroom.
Into a classroom.
Now, if you were just doing that on a regular Verizon or Comcast connection, is that possible?
It's possible, but the broadband and the way that this has all been put together between the universities on a direct fiber secure VPN, and this is all technical, is optimized for this kind of traffic. And so this extends to a lot of other applications. The physicists at Brown want to talk to the Large Hadron Collider in CERN and
in Switzerland.
And so to get that kind of data into Brown, when it hits the mainland here, it has to go over fiber optics to get it there. Otherwise, it would take too long. And so those kinds of things our network is optimized for.
Another use at university is kind of funny in the dormitories. How is this coming in handy in the dorms for some of the students at our universities?
Well, it turns out that, and this is interesting, is that the #1 application in a lot of universities in residential life these days between the hours of, say, 10 and 2 in the morning is Netflix. And so what's gone on with our network is now we can stream. There's a Netflix streamer that sits next to the fiber optic POP that we connect to, and it streams right to the dorm, so they don't have to go over the commercial internet. And you can get variable results going over the commercial internet to do this kind of thing, but when you have an entire dorm full of students all looking at Netflix at that time, It's a large amount of bandwidth.
So when the new Arrested Develop comes out, y'all want to get to a dormitory maybe and then
That's
watch
right.
it there.
They're the best connection in
They'll
the
have the
state.
best connections around. And hospitals, another example. How are hospitals? You mentioned Lifespan, which owns Rhode Island Hospital, Care New England, Charter Care had a big event related to this last year. How are hospitals and medical institutions using this?
In a lot of ways. So one of the things is there's an application that everybody talks about, disaster recovery. What happens if I have an issue at a particular hospital? How do I get all of that information from some other facility in real time, very fast? With the amount of information that sits inside a hospital these days in terms of patient records and all that kind of stuff, these disaster recovery facilities, in order for them to come online, have to have very, very high speed optimized networks like this. And so the other thing that's going on is their footprint in terms of buildings is dispersed. They have multiple hospitals, and to have real-time communications very, very fast, they need a very high-speed fiber optic network, and so this is perfect for them.
So for the average Rhode Islander, there might be some people watching saying, "Well, am I really going to benefit from this? I'm not a college student. I'm not a Lifespan doctor." What would you say to somebody wondering if it'll impact them? They obviously can't connect it right to their home.
Well, I mean, I like analogies, and if you looked at the analogy to the electrical, the burgeoning electrical invention, right? It used to be that places would grow up around places that had stable electricity. If you had a good stable power infrastructure, that was sort of the first thing to run the Industrial Revolution. That's certainly how that grew. Well, it's becoming the table stakes for almost all businesses. And so Rhode Island, I don't know if this is official information, but I think you'll be hearing quickly that we're the #1 broadband coverage state in the union now. So I like having Rhode Island first in something. So we have extraordinary, now with OSHAN's footprint as well, extraordinary footprint coverage. And that is always good just for the business infrastructure. You always want your students to have the best access to the best technology. Well, we have the best access to the best technology to the schools. So that's, job one. It's sort of table stakes. You got to start there. And so we have no excuses now when it comes to that.
And not just for Netflix, maybe for some of their research. We only have about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
But what's next for OSHEAN and Beacon? What are you looking at next once this is up and running and in August?
Well, if you start with the table stakes, that this is sort of that low broadband infrastructure, now what do you put on top of it? And so now there's a whole host of applications. Maybe we do video streaming services. We do what's next generation's called cloud services, where it used to be you buy a very heavy desktop PC to get access to an application. Now, because the network is so fast, the application can be remote, and you can have a very low-cost, what they call a thin client, that might cost a sixth of what a laptop would cost. And so those kinds of cloud services, we will be providing access for our membership in those areas.
Exciting times. All right. Well, I want to thank you, David Marble, for being with me. Don't go away, though, because when we come back, we're going to have 2 of the winners of the Rhode Island Business Plan competition. Maybe they'll be using some of this high-speed internet to get themselves going. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. I promised you 3D printing, and here is a 3D printer on our set, brought by Tyler Benster. He's here along with Alison Cariati. They are 2 of the big winners in last week's Rhode Island Business Plan competition. I guess it was in May. I'll say that. I know the taping date's different for this show. And so first, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you
You
very
must
much.
be pretty excited.
Yes.
Very so.
Allison, I want to start with you. You were the big winner. You're the CEO of a company, is it Haverhill?
Haverhill,
just
Right.
like the town.
Just like the town.
And you won the competition's entrepreneur track, which is $45,000 in cash, $24,000 in professional and consulting services. So first, tell me, what do you do at Haverhill, and are you excited about winning?
Extremely excited. I was actually stunned that evening. And really, really excited. The timing for us is perfect because we are launching our product and our company next week in Las Vegas at the International Fine Jewelry Trade Show.
So that'll give people a hint of what you're doing. What kind of jewelry? A long, famous history in Rhode Island. What are you doing with jewelry?
And this pair of earrings is actually the only part of the collection I have on me right now, because the rest of it is being the finishing touches and polishing to be ready to to be shipped off for the show. But Haverhill is a new designer accessories brand, and the cornerstone of our product is fine jewelry, sterling silver, gemstones, and really our niche, or what we're going after, is intrinsic value in fashion. Our customer is looking for beautiful, current style that's at an affordable price. So there's a lot of jewelry on the market today that's 18 karat gold and diamonds, and there's a lot of very high-priced designer costume jewelry. But there's not much out there that combines the style of fashion and what's on Madison Avenue with intrinsic value. And what better place to do it than
So
here
you
in Rhode
think
Island.
you've found a market opportunity there?
Yeah.
How will winning the business plan competition, will it give you some help, an extra boost as you get started?
It really does, because we have upfront costs in terms of our photo shoots that we did here in Rhode Island, and our suppliers and packaging and manufacturers. I mean, you know, to get off the ground, you need some initial funding. But we also, when we get back from Vegas and we have orders in hand, we need to build a team, and we need to get going on our marketing campaign and launch our website, which actually may be launched in the next week or so. So
nice, all right.
Yeah.
So, you know, one interesting thing is Tyler's kind of the face of startups. I feel like it's a parade of Brown students and graduates on the show, which isn't a bad thing, starting companies in Rhode Island. You're further along in your career. What made you decide it was time to join a brand new company and starting this up from scratch? Some people say that's a little scary.
Well, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I have actually been involved in the entrepreneurial world since the day I got out of college. My first real job was at a law firm in Boston, Testa, Hurwitz, and Tebow, and their business was venture capital and entrepreneurial startups companies. And I worked in the marketing world there, head of marketing there for 10 years, and always wanted to be on the other side of the table. And when I first moved here to Rhode Island, I then became part of a startup and dabbled in that. And since then, I've done a lot of other things here, but that entrepreneurial spirit has always been there, and it's just waiting and finding the right time when everything starts to come together and click. And this is definitely it.
Tyler, let's talk about you now. Your company is Azavy.
Azavy.
Azavy, I'm sorry, and I thought I was saying it right from the pronunciation there. Won the student track, $15,000 in cash, $24,000 valued services, and we have a 3D printer here, and we actually have a video as well from your website about what Azavy does. Tell me about it. What are you doing with 3D printing?
So
it's all the rage.
Yeah, 3D printing, for those of you that don't know, are devices that build up objects layer by layer. You can think of it like a printer where it moves in 2 dimensions, except instead of ink, it puts down plastic. And actually, I'll give you a little. So this moves around, it draws something on the bed, and then the bed lowers down, and before you know it, you have a physical 3-dimensional object in front of you. And what's really cool about it is that normal manufacturing, you start off with a big block of material, and you just cut away at it, and it's very wasteful. With this, you can very precisely put material where you want it, so it's cost effective. And beyond that, you can manufacture objects that you can't make any other way. Think objects inside of other objects, or customize one-off objects rather than a big mass manufacturing assembly line.
And one of the examples you are wearing right now, right?
I'm indeed. This 3D printed bow tie right here. The story behind that is I had a formal for university recently, and I realized I didn't actually have a bow tie and really wanted to wear one. So I found a design that was open source online, printed it out, and an hour later I had a bow tie that I could clip on here.
But let me ask you, how, did you have the material lying around at home to put through the 3D printer to make a bow tie?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a purple plastic and have a bunch of other different colors, brown, yellow, red. And with these printers, which are home printers, you really restricted to just plastics. But what's pretty fascinating is that on the industrial side, you can do metals, you can do glasses, you can do ceramics. So for example, in the jewelry industry, people are starting to 3D print jewelry out of metal. Using intricate designs you can't do any other way. And one of the applications I'm most fascinated about is taking Rhode Island's talent in concentration design with its rich history in manufacturing, and seeing what kind of symbiotic advancements we can use by taking this new technology and applying it to some of Rhode Island's traditional strengths.
Now, one of the important things about Azavy, it reminds me a little of the art website where people sell their own art online. People are going to be selling this. We have, I know we showed the video a minute ago. You're going to help people bring those products to market. That's part of your idea, right?
Absolutely. So a product designer can design an object in 3 dimensions, and instead of paying thousands of dollars for tooling and getting a factory in China, they can just put it on our website and with no upfront capital, start making money for their designs.
Kind of made to order.
Made to order, exactly. So no inventory.
So what's your you're, I think, graduating this within the next couple of weeks, right?
Yep, graduating in a few days here. By the time this airs, I'm supposed to be out of here.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. And what's your plan for the company? Do you want to build this up, make a real deal out of it?
Absolutely. Working on it full time. We'll be back here in Providence second half of June. And what we'll be focused on there is a couple things. First is trying to bring a manufacturing innovation institute to Rhode Island, which was referenced by Obama's State of the Union. So we'll be trying to put together a coalition of businesses, nonprofits, and universities for that. And the second part will be growing our own network. So, for example, this business plan has helped us just get some publicity in the area. Recently spoke with the owner of a hardware store in southern Rhode Island that's interested in buying a 3D printer, putting it in his store, and then potentially using it. We're brainstorming some ideas, maybe have a customer bring in a remote control that has a broken back, and we could do a digital scan of it, send it to a designer, and then a day later they could pick up a replacement part.
Alison, I want to ask, from your experience so far, what's it like to start a new company in Rhode Island? We talk constantly about, is it the worst place in the world to start? Is it okay? What's your experience
I have to
been
say
like?
it's been absolutely tremendous, because in what we're doing, because we are the jewelry capital of the world, we here, Rhode Island, we could not have done it. We could not have launched this company without the major support of our suppliers and our manufacturers. And they have just been so encouraging. They've provided so much expertise and knowledge. And some of them came to the Rhode Island Business Plan Competition Awards finals just to support us and cheer us on. But they really, they're cheering us on every way they can. I mean, they're helping us in all aspects of the business, and they're so giving in their teaching too. And I can't imagine doing it somewhere else that way. I mean, these guys most of them have been in the business a long, long time, and they're really happy to see somebody new coming in and saying, you know, we can do this. Let's try it.
So having that cluster here is vital.
It's vital, and just that they're right here in town. We couldn't start this in, you know, Wisconsin or California. I mean, I need to be able to go in and talk to the guys on a daily, practical basis.
Tyler, I'm going to hit you with something you didn't expect. They sent me your resume from the business plan competition, and the last part of your interest is artisan milkshakes. What's that?
So I have a long-standing interest in combining flavors like mint and raspberry and throwing them in a milkshake and coming up with new flavor combinations. I'm glad you stumbled upon it. I'm happy to make one for you sometime. If you
Good.
like.
All right. We should have had some ice cream here. We
Yeah,
could have showed one in our mugs this week. So people can find both these companies online. This is Azavy, and yours is Haverhill, and you'll be presenting next week in Las Vegas, and you guys will be back in June. So the winners of the Rhode Island Business Plan Competition in 2013. Thank you for catching Executive Suite. Our guest on the first half was David Marble, President and CEO of OSHEAN, the OSHEAN Consortium. And if you missed part of this show or any other episode, you can catch it on our website, WPRI.com. I'll see you next week on Executive Suite.